What happens when wolves take the job of shepherd, when the fascists are in charge of the Justice Department, when the coal industry is in charge of the environment? Check this out. Leave your comments, ding the bell, share it with your friends, and subscribe to our channel. What happens when an administration comes into power and decides to replace the protectors with the predators? When the USDA is being run by a lobbyist, when the FDA, the Food and Drug Administration, is being run by a lobbyist, when the Defense Department is being run by a lobbyist, the Justice Department, well, Bill Barr, I'm not sure you could call him a lobbyist, but a fascist. What happens? It's starting to get real. It's starting to get very, very real. Jenny Harbine is with us. She's the staff attorney for Earth Justice, earthjustice.org, the Twitter handle Earth Justice. And Jenny, tell us about how the Trump administration, and I'm assuming the Interior Department plays some role in this, are dealing with leasing federal lands to coal miners.
Well, the Trump administration, first of all, thank you very much, Tom, for having me on the show. The Trump administration, from its very first days, began making good on a campaign promise to try to revive the coal industry by rolling back regulations that are designed to protect you and me. They're designed to protect the health of our planet and the health of our people. And the Trump administration committed to rolling back these regulations in really what's a desperate attempt to keep the failing coal industry alive. And so in March 2017, in the very early days of the administration, the Trump administration lifted a moratorium on federal coal leasing, and in doing so opened up the entire federal mineral estate, covering 570 million acres of public land owned by you and me, to exploitation by coal companies.
So what is specifically happening right now? I mean, are there coal companies? Is this all in the process, in kind of the legal, moving paperwork around stage, or has somebody showed up with, trucks and digging machines and however, explosives, however they're going to take the coal out? And are these are federal lands, right? These are the parks that are the federal lands that Teddy Roosevelt helped create.
Yeah, these are federal lands. These are lands owned by you and me. 85% of the mining of federal coal occurs on federal public lands in the Powder River Basin, primarily in Montana and Wyoming. But there's currently coal mining happening on federal public lands in 12 states, over 300 leases. So, of course, we have existing mining happening in these public lands, and there are still a host of mining companies that have lease applications pending that are trying to get their hands on more of our publicly owned coal. Currently, there's 6.5 billion tons of unmined coal on federal public lands that the government considers recoverable or economically mineable by these companies. And the Trump administration wants to open the floodgates to this mining that's so harmful to our communities, our health, our water, our air, and, very significantly, our climate. And we filed a lawsuit, Earth Justice filed a lawsuit on behalf of the Northern Cheyenne Tribe and a host of conservation organizations in 2017, in fact, the day that the administration took this unlawful action, and we won that lawsuit. Last year, a federal district court in Montana said it was illegal for the Trump administration to open up these public lands to mining without going through the legally required process of evaluating the environmental consequences of that decision. But the Trump administration did, in our case, what it's done in so many other cases, which is slap together a document that it says will comply with the court's order, puts it in front of the court and says, mission accomplished. We satisfied, we checked all the boxes of the required environmental review, and now we're good to go. And so, although we won that first lawsuit, we're now back in court challenging the Trump administration's really inadequate and I would say even immoral analysis of the consequences of this very significant decision to reopen our public lands to coal leasing.
Remarkable. We're talking with the staff attorney for Earth Justice, Jenny Harbine. How do you, Trump is in office for another 4 or 5 months, arguably 6 months, I guess, until January 20th, assuming that he doesn't get reelected, which may not be a safe assumption, but nonetheless. Do you see this being resolved within that time window, or, and what can the average person who might be listening to this conversation do to support the efforts that you guys are taking to try to, basically defend our country against more carbon pollution and our lands against being more ravaged by these miners?
Those are great questions, Tom. I'll take the second one first, which is what can people do? And, I have been so heartened in the wake of the 2016 election to see how ordinary people are standing up and saying this is not acceptable. Not only are folks taking to the streets to hold this administration, our elected officials, accountable to the law, to the science, to the public trust. People are really taking action into their own hands and making responsible choices about, their day-to-day activities. How do we make decisions about activities that are going to increase our carbon footprint? Increasingly, I think that personal accountability by states and cities and tribes are coming into the fore as we've seen this just federal vacuum when it comes to responsible climate policy. As to whether this issue will be resolved, the answer is no. This case will go beyond the Trump administration if we have a new president in November. But if left unchallenged, of course, this decision would remain, and its harmful impacts would continue to impact our communities and our air and water and climate. And, I don't know if this is an apt analogy, but I'm thinking about the waning days here, or what may be the waning days of a Trump administration in comparison with the waning days of, coal industry, which is that, we can see the light at the end of the tunnel. We can see that we have an energy future that's cleaner, more sustainable, affordable, and doesn't cause these disproportionate impacts on the American people and across the globe. We can see the light at the end of the tunnel, but the Trump administration and the coal industry alike can cause a tremendous amount of harm in their death throes. And this lawsuit is aiming to prevent that harm, both by the administration and the coal industry, frankly.